This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, here's a clue. We do encourage you to like and share them on social media because it's time for Joanne's World of Nutrition, presented by Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce, US 1 and Orange Avenue across from City Hall. And your host is the one and only Joanne Seeger.
Hey everyone, happy Thursday. I hope everyone's having a great morning. I'm definitely having a great morning now that I'm in the studio with an old friend. He's been on the show before, but now I have him live and in person in the studio. So, good morning, buddy. How are you? I was going to do a joke, but I'm sure you've heard it 3 billion times before. My buddy. Ha ha.
Hey.
Right? Buddy, how do you pronounce your last name?
Ojeda. So you think of a girl's name, Heather.
Okay.
Put the O in front of it and knock the R off at the end. And
but I'm a New Yorker. Ours are like our issue.
Heather. Yeah. Oh, Heather.
Oh, Heather.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
No R.
Well, with the little Spanish.
No, it's Ojeda.
But I love it. With the little Spanish, it's like sounds so nice. Okay.
I forget you're from New York. Whereabouts again?
Long Island. Massapequa Park.
Yeah. I'm from the Bronx.
And you know how many customers I have from New York? It's like crazy. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm from New York. What part? I'm from Long Island. What part? Massapequa. I'm like, whoa, this is incredible. Yeah.
Right.
So, all right, buddy. So, everyone, I really hope this one you have time to take a pen and paper or write some notes on your smartphones because Buddy not only is a certified nutritionist or clinical nutritionist?
Certified nutritionist.
Certified nutritionist, and he is an author, public speaker. He's, for years, has been doing education. He's been doing education for everyone, not only for the pros that have been in the field for many, many years, but for just the consumer to really just try to spread the word about health and nutrition and how supplements have a role in healing and what we need to do to kind of just overcome everything that's been thrown at us. So, buddy, we do the breath work. You remember it from last time?
I do, and it was very calming then, and I hope that it's going to be the same way today.
Okay, so I hope so too.
All right.
So we definitely have the expert counter.
Yes.
Yep, and so Cliff, can you handle doing the whole 5 count?
It doesn't really take a mathematician. Anybody could do this.
Right.
You
Anyone
can do this on your own.
Yeah. So for newbies, welcome to the show. Breath work is extremely important, so it's really part of the experience. So we're going to use our nose only. We're going to breathe in for 5. We're going to exhale for 5, and we are. Did I miss the hold?
Well, this cannot be done quickly.
You can tell my morning is a little woohoo.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to breathe in for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5. Let's just do it a couple times because I want Buddy to get right into it.
That's
so we
right.
want to use every minute we
to
can.
Do this, folks. So
all right, let's exhale out any drama, stress, anything that's making our mind feel a little clouded. All right.
Now let's begin
here
our
we go.
intake through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again in 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you could do this for hours if you want. And it's easier to do for hours than it is in just a few moments.
Yes, and there's really cool videos on YouTube about breath work. There's like ones that have like the chanting or the guided meditation at the same time. So if you ever really want to embrace breath work, there's 1,000 free videos on YouTube to help encourage you in all different ways. So super cool. So, Buddy, we are going to talk about digestive health and probiotics today, right?
Yay!
Okay, just one of your many specialties. But I'm thinking that some of our customers or listeners might still kind of hear the word. And you know how sometimes in school you just hear the buzzword and you don't want to be the one holding up your hand to say, yeah, I hear it. I see it on yogurt, but I still have no clue what it is. Let's just assume that my listeners are like that, just in case we have any newbies. We don't want to make them feel bad. So I'm thinking we start from the beginning, because sometimes when you say the word bacteria, sometimes there is people that are still like, wait, that's the stuff I'm supposed to kill and destroy.
Right.
So why don't we just back it up to the 101 of digestion and where it all begins and how bacteria plays a role in that. And
Sure.
I'm really, you know how I am. I let the pros take it over, and I'll ask questions when I feel like I need to know more, okay?
Sure, sure. It's interesting because this whole concept about friendly bacteria or microorganisms really dates back, I mean, hundreds of years, but predominantly and prominently back in the 1890s, 1880s, I believe it was. There's a guy named Elie Metchnikoff, who was a contemporary of Louis Pasteur. And if the name Pasteur sounds familiar, it's because if you hear pasteurization of dairy products, it's the heating up to kill bacteria, bad bacteria. So Elie Metchnikoff was part of Louis Pasteur's institute, and once Louis Pasteur passed away, he took it over. And Elie was, I don't know if he was introduced to these peasant farmers in Bulgaria or came across them, but somehow he heard about these very peasant, poor individuals lived on a farm, and they seemed to not only live for a long time, but also healthfully throughout their lifespan. So it wasn't like that they were sickly in the last 20 years of their lives. They seemed to live long lives, and then they died pretty quickly. They didn't suffer. So he started to study the culture, and what he found was that a staple in their diet was a fermented type of beverage and food, and you know, today we know it as kefir and yogurt. But he saw that that was the difference between them, that culture, that population, and the surrounding cultures and populations in that area. And so the microscope was invented by that time, so he started to look underneath the microscope, and he could see these little microorganisms moving around. And what he then theorized was that the reason why these folks live so long is because his thought process that when there's putrefaction going on internally, when there's rotting of food in your digestive system, that creates toxins, and that's a burden on the body, and that creates inflammation and creates illness. And so these individuals, these farmers, were consuming this fermented food, which prevented, first of all, the food didn't spoil because they were fermented, but it seemed to also impart that same benefit internally, seemed to prevent any auto-intoxication that was taking place. And he theorized it's this food, it's this fermented food and beverage that is allowing these folks to live a longer period of time. And if you ever hear of a probiotic strain called Lactobacillus bulgaricus, it came from this study of these peasant farmers. And
that's probably one of the more popular ones, right?
That's
that
correct.
Strain.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So digestion begins in the gut, right? You've heard about the disease begins in the gut, and it's true. Auto-intoxication, too much in the way of negative bacteria and or microorganisms like yeast, can really create an environment in the gut that affects all systems of the body. People have heard in the past gut-brain connection, you know, what you think about.
I mention that quite often on my show.
Right, and it's true, right? So the brain is communicating with your gut, and the gut is communicating with the brain, and it's going on all the time. And so when you say, I have a gut feeling about something, or you saw something horrific like a car accident, so it's gut-wrenching, you're not lying. You're absolutely telling the truth, because your brain is capturing thoughts and feelings. And by the way, we hear about neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, GABA. Well, yeah, there's some in your brain and neurons in your brain that are amenable to these neurotransmitters, but so the vast majority are actually in your gut. So gut health is basic to overall health. Think about weight management. Think about immunological support. 70% of the immune system and function is in the digestive system. breaking down of nutrients, so amino acids and fats and carbohydrates. All you need an environment that fosters the ability to do so. And the way you get that is to have a healthy microbiome. That's just a really fancy word for saying environment, internal ecology. And the way you do that is to have a steady supply of these beneficial bacteria, ideally through fermented foods. But when you can't, then you've got the option of supplementation.
And that's a reality. I preach all the time the fermented foods as the number one source, but it's tough because the things that are offered here in the United States, they're full of sugar and they're processed and homogenized and pasteurized. And so that is definitely tougher. So I guess supplements have to come in, right?
Supplements have to come in, and always remembering that in any supplement, whether it's a probiotic or whether it's a multi or a fish oil, a supplement by definition is to supplement, ideally, a reasonable diet. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to walk on water and eat the most, it's not, you're not saintly. You
live in a bubble.
Yeah, you don't live in the bubble. But the thing is so don't go out and destroy your diet and then just think that a supplement, a probiotic or anything like is going to save you, because it doesn't work that way.
Definitely. And one thing that I know, you're very picky about what companies you educate for.
Yeah.
And I have known you for a long time, and you definitely pick the top companies. So Probulin is basically a good friend of mine's company as well that I've known forever. And so I am super proud of him for creating such magnificent products. So tell me where Probulin came into your life and why you want to educate people everywhere about it.
Yeah, so as you said, Joanne, I think that as just like you as a store owner, proprietor, you're going to carry what you feel you can align yourself with. You're not wanting to carry everything in the store. It's just what you feel passionate about and what you know through your experience of so many years of dealing with different companies. So the same thing for me, aligning myself with Probulin, it was happenstance. It was a mutual friend of ours, a guy named Lee Coe, and Lee introduced me to Dr. Jason Mitchell, the co-founder of Probulin. Dr. Mitchell had his own health crisis several years ago that had to do with ulcerative colitis, and he will tell you today, if you were sitting in the chair, that probiotics didn't cure him, but it sure was a plan to get him back to today, fully in remission, no issues whatsoever. He just celebrated his 50th birthday.
Oh, yeah.
I hope he doesn't mind me telling him how old he is. But
he might a little, knowing Jason.
Just might a little bit, yes. Fortunately, he's on the other coast. He lives on the west coast of Florida. And the idea is that so when I was introduced to Jason to potentially do some education for this company, it was unique. I didn't know much about Probulin. I didn't understand some of the unique aspects of the line. And for him, almost immediately, and this is the thing, I had heard of Jason before, but the interview was over the phone only. I was mesmerized. I was caught by his enthusiasm within like the first 20 minutes. Because as you know, Jason,
passionate.
yes, exactly,
so passionate.
Right. So for me, I'm like, this is it. I can align myself with this. And so I've been here for almost 5 years now as an independent contractor, and it is great because really, I would have a hard time 20 years into this career. I'd have a hard time trying to educate or sell on something that I didn't feel passionate about. Certainly, we're not the only good company, probiotic company on the market. I think the sandbox is big enough for all of us to play in.
Yep.
But I really feel very passionate and very good about talking about Probulin because I just think it's a great company.
Well, the one thing I love about, I got to call him Dr. Jason now,
Yes.
I knew him way before those days, but
Right.
between you and Dr. Jason, not only are you educating, but you're dealing with consumers. So, Jason's family was in the health food business, so they knew firsthand what people's struggles were, the real struggles. Sometimes I see these manufacturers, they come up with formulas just in this little conference room, but they're not dealing with the people every day and their daily complaints. And I can go to the bathroom, but it's different every day, or my stomach bloats after each meal, or I have acid reflux over. They're not dealing with the everyday. Each person is suffering so badly with all these digestive issues. Mm-hmm. So he really gave so much thought and passion and research into designing the Probulin line. So what do you think as far as he didn't go out there and make like 100 different products. So you have in front of you. So if anyone watches us live, the assortment of the Probulin products is right on camera. Tell me what, as far as the premise of his delivery system and why he chose that, because there's a lot of companies that claim all different things about their delivery system. Why do you think Dr. Jason went with this one?
So yeah, he I remember him early on telling me he didn't want to be another Me Too company, which in that sense, in that conversation, it's usually Me Too companies or companies that replicate what others are doing and maybe try to improve on that by a little bit more. So in this industry, we're all consumers, right? But in this industry, it's often thought that if a little bit is good, a lot must be better. So the way you determine the level of probiotics in a dose, whether it's a capsule or a powder like a spoon or a liquid, say kombucha, something along those lines, is by a CFU. It's called colony forming unit. So if it says 1 billion, that means potentially 1 billion probiotics that can get into your system and help out with promoting health. But so companies tended to go higher and higher. 50 billion is better than 20 billion. 100 billion is better than 50 billion. And once again, we're all consumers, so we're thinking, makes sense. What people fail to understand is that probiotics are not things you absorb, like vitamins or minerals or antioxidants. They are microorganisms that have to survive. And so for him, it was all about a delivery system that allowed them to survive. And because of that delivery system, and it's got some science based on it, we never go above 20 billion CFU. And for anyone who knows much about probiotics, that might not seem like a lot compared to what's out there, right? The 50 billion, the 200 billion. But if more survive, you don't have to then put in a bunch more, which ups the cost for the consumer and doesn't necessarily provide twice the amount of benefit or 3 times the amount of benefit. So the delivery system was key, and he worked with a partner, Dr. Mark Brudnick, who's also a microbiologist, and came up with this unique delivery system. It's all natural. It's got some patents that are pending, one that's pending and one that's actually been granted. And it's the proof is in the pudding. People take the product, and most of the time they come back and they go, wow, it's amazing. I can see the difference, feel the difference.
Yep, and I love that he didn't just be the Me Too of 100 billion,
Right.
1 million billion. Like, it's like, it was getting crazy. Like, and it was just like, it was like all the research was saying that more is not better. And, and like you said, it's just establishing a healthy microdome and helping all these different bacteria colonize and work together like a happy family, So I love that Jason didn't fall victim to, the whole billion conversation. So that's awesome. So what is your favorite out of the line? Like, do you have a favorite?
I got to be straight up with you, and it's because it's been the last year or so. I like the one that says the total immune support. I know that I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, right? So I'm down here visiting with you and working with Ronnie Young. And the thing is, everywhere I see an elderberry syrup, I see elderberry capsules, elderberries
Gummies.
everywhere. Gummies everywhere, right? So I understand that the market is saturated, but I like the concept of probiotics, specific ones that we call them hero probiotics, because in particular, these have been shown in research to support the immunological response in the body, not overstimulated, but support it, along with a combination of this elderberry concentrate. Elderberries, for hundreds of years, have been known to be beneficial because of their antioxidant content, their polyphenol content, their anthocyanin content. So the combination of the two made a lot of sense to me. It had nothing to do with what's been going on the last year and a half. This was something in the works already, but I will tell you that it's my go-to. I have taken all of them, but it's the one that I currently take on a regular basis, the immune support.
Okay, is that a 1 a day, the immune support?
It is a one. Yeah, all of these are 1 a days.
Okay.
The only one that's a 2 a day is one we call Trim Synergy. But yeah, so the 1 a day. I happen to take 2 just because I don't know.
Well, you travel a lot. You're always going. So
Exactly.
that's a great idea.
Exactly.
And I heard rumor from Ronnie that we were going to give some of our radio show listeners a little immune support gift. Is that right, Ronnie? Okay. All right. So if any of our listeners can get to the store, you know how these gift giveaways go. The first come, first serve. So how many do we have to give away? 5 boxes. So 5 boxes of the Probulin immune support. start. All right, so just come in and, you can always call to find out if there's any left, 464-3598. All right, so buddy, so far it's been amazing, teaching about the bacteria and how it helps not only digestion, but like you said, that brain-gut connection, your neurotransmitters. And for any of you, those words, serotonin, dopamine, GABA, I can't stress enough, if those are not working properly in your body, you might feel off, emotionally, physically. So it's really important to have your gut working properly and in balance with the rest of your body. So that way you feel good, you feel happy, all that good stuff, right?
That's right.
So when we come back from the next break, which now, we will talk about the other Probulin products and how good bacteria can definitely add a lot of good things to your life. A little tongue-tied here. All right, so we'll be right back, folks. Thank you.
Hey, it's Dr. Ravi at Tradition Family Chiropractic. We are dedicated to serving you and your family with integrity, compassion, and innovative care through the most advanced chiropractic care ever in chiropractic history, encouraging your health and your family's health to its maximum potential on a regular basis. Call us today at 772-345-0060 or schedule online at traditionhealth.com for your free consultation.
Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World, hoping that you visit my store and wellness center. We have incorporated cutting-edge services to help you feel better. Check out my online store at joannesnutritionworld.com. Really great deals and free shipping over $50. I am really hoping that all my listeners are taking time right now to get fresh air, to get exercise into their daily routine, keep hydrated, and get the proper amount of sleep. It's critical right now that attitude is everything. To please take time to laugh, to give yourself a break. You can find Nutrition World right on US 1 in Fort Pierce, across from Fort Pierce City Hall, in between Orange Avenue and Avenue A. Our phone number is 772-464-3598. Call me with any questions or concerns. All my best, Joanne.
Joanne's Nutrition World, now open from 10 to 4, Monday through Saturday. Call 464-3598.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Welcome back to Joanne's World of Nutrition. Brought to you by Nutrition World and hosted by Joanne Seeger.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us this Thursday morning. I am here today with my good friend, Buddy. I just keep wanting to say my buddy. So, as you know, I go way back in the industry as well as Buddy, and he is a certified nutritionist, but he has the coolest job ever, I think, and he gets to educate on some of the best companies that we offer in the supplement industry and help not only consumers, but even us, even the store owners and the employees, and giving them a heads up when new research is around, and what makes products special. Because as everyone knows, I've really condensed my store down to products that I would use myself or give to someone in my family, because I feel like if I wouldn't use it, I'm not going to sell it. So that's why if you look at my probiotic section, I only have like 3 lines. And so Probulin is one of them. I love it. It's great, cost effective. It's real easy formulas. Most of them are 1 a day. So I would definitely, if you're doing a probiotic and you're spending any amount of money, make sure you're getting what the product says it is. Unfortunately, not only in the supplement arena, but the food industry has really taken advantage of a multi-billion-dollar probiotic market by marketing good bacteria on yogurt and kefir and all these different food products, but you really don't know about the quality and then the offset from the inflammatory sugar or dairy food in itself that's coming with it. Like you mentioned earlier in the show, buddy, about the kefir. Yes, European kefir is not what you're buying on the store shelves here in the States. So just to be clear, there really is a difference between products. So always do your own homework. But again, I feel like I did a lot of research for you, so you can come check out the Probulin products. We have about, I think, 6 different choices. And I want to keep it simple for my consumers, but at the same time, there are different needs people have at different points of their life. So, for instance, Buddy, so I would say probably this one is my bestseller, the Daily Care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think it's because it's so simple, right? Daily. So people love that. Oh, I'll just take that. Because can you help the listeners understand why probiotics aren't just for after someone takes an antibiotic? Because I think that is still a really big misconception.
It's unfortunate, and there are folks who just take it during the course of an antibiotic, a 10-day course of antibiotics. They'll take a Z-Pack, and so they take 10 days of probiotics. But as I mentioned earlier, and what I alluded to earlier, this internal environment, this ecology of the gastrointestinal system has to be primed every day. And ideally, it's through fermented foods and the cleaner foods that we eat that's the food source for the microbes that we have internally. But because of exposure to toxins, because of, as you mentioned, Joanne, high levels of sugar or processed foods, I mean, just enjoying a day at the pool. If the pool has got chlorine in it, that's going to affect your gastrointestinal environment because what's chlorine in the pool for? It's antibacterial. It's trying to disinfect the pool. Some of that gets into the system, and it was years ago, I forget where I saw this, but years ago, they showed that competitive Olympic swimmers who were indoors tended to have more gastrointestinal issues, and they couldn't understand the reason why. Ultimately, they came to the decision, or some theory that, well, the exposure to the pool, the inhaling of the chlorine, disrupted the gastrointestinal system, and so that's why they had more of these issues than your typical other athlete did. So on a regular basis, people say, do I have to take a probiotic every day? You know, if you don't have any issues, then good on you. But just like you would take fish oil every day, just like you would take vitamin E for heart health every day, just like you would take maybe a green superfood every day, probiotics are also intended to continue to support and maintain this really delicate system. It's not just an empty tube, a hollow tube that goes all the way through. It's
so
biologically
active.
active.
Think that, right?
Right. It is not. It's so you need to have an environment to foster, to help break down that food, to help provide some of the nutrients. By the way, if you didn't know, we all produce B12 in the body, and we do so because of probiotics that work on the food that we feed them that produces B12. Vitamin K2, neurotransmitters, fatty acids, all these things are part of the reason why probiotics benefit the system. And you need to replace them on a regular basis because if you didn't, that can lead you down the road to having gastrointestinal issues.
Yeah, and I feel like we've just over-sterilizing. You know, there is a lot of concept just not only in our environment, but our internal environment where people just think more processed, the more sterile, the better. Even the concept of, destroying all pathogens, like, because they have such a bad rep for causing issues like candida and yeast, like you mentioned. But it's in all of us. It's just keeping it in balance and not throwing it off. You mentioned, I mentioned sugar, and you... Right, we all know sugar, but can you talk about any other healthy tips besides fermented food to keep a strong ecosystem down there?
Yeah, so ideally, fiber is a great source. Not only does it add bulk to our digestive system, but also it is a primary fuel for the bacteria. Now, they'll consume almost anything. They will consume starches. They will consume protein. They'll consume virtually anything that you consume. But the better stuff you put in it, primarily if you put lots of fiber, think about green leafy vegetables, think about root vegetables. They take that, and particularly fiber that's indigestible, that you and I can't break down. Yeah. We don't have the ability to break down.
Is that what the stuff they call the pre-probiotic?
Yeah, the prebiotic. Yeah, the prebiotic is that food source that you're giving these probiotics, and they break it down for us, and in the process of doing so, create what are called metabolites. Think of these as byproducts of their metabolism because of the food you just fed them. And that then aids us. It provides the health benefits that probiotics are known for. Without proper food, if you keep adding junk to your system, not only is it's just going to clog your arteries and just make you feel, lifeless, not much energy, but you're also not feeding the beneficial bacteria, and they then can't do what they're supposed to do.
Right, and I think there has to be more awareness about our flour products here today, because all our flour products, our bread, our cereal, our crackers, our pasta, not only are they using, bleaching products, but the bromides, the fluorides, all these things that destroy our ecosystem. And sometimes people think I'm talking about in terms of weight loss when I say please don't eat flour products, but it really is in terms of their gut health. It's most of them are devoid of fibers that were naturally there, that it was removed during processing. And now you're just eating this white starch that's full of chemicals that hurts your gut and your endocrine system. So I love that you mentioned fiber. Do you remember Brenda from Watson, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we used to talk about her all the time, right? So I remember the first time she told me that you need 35 grams of fiber a day. And I was eating so healthy back then. This is like 25 years ago. And I'm like, oh, I got this. I definitely do 35 grams. And then she's like, well, why don't you just check? Just make sure, just to get an idea. Well, I started kind of figuring out. I think I was at like 11, 12 grams. And I ate healthy.
Right.
I was like, oh, my God. Does that mean that the normal person gets like 5 grams, And then you buy the fiber stuff, and it's like, they're like 4 grams a wafer. You'd have to eat, 10 of them.
Right.
But fiber is so important, right? And so I know that most of my customers won't go to those grams. So you definitely, in the Probulin product, has taken the prebiotic into account, which the Total Care Women's, which I get more female shoppers at my store.
Sure.
And so they love the Total Care because it has the prebiotic built in,
right?
Which doesn't give an excuse not to eat fiber, but definitely will help a little, right? Feed those little bugs.
Absolutely. It's the question is always, should you take your probiotics with food or without food? If you take it with food, you're naturally providing a prebiotic. Prebiotic is just a fancy way for saying the food that they consume, that they utilize to replicate, to set up shop, to colonize the gastrointestinal system. But if you're taking a probiotic on an empty stomach, and some people do, ours you can do that because of the delivery system, then ideally it should have some prebiotic component, some little snack, right? A little something to get by until that next
appetizer,
meal. Little appetizer,
yeah.
There you go, until that next meal comes through. And then studies after studies show that any probiotic, doesn't matter if it's ours or not, any probiotic should contain a prebiotic because you have measurable results, effective results with a prebiotic.
Now, and I know too as well, there is now what they're calling the postbiotic. Mm-hmm. So what's the story with that one?
It sounds like a marketing thing. Honestly,
it's at first, right?
Like, I'm just getting down the prebiotic thing. Don't confuse me with something else.
Yeah.
Back in the mid '80s, I think it was the first time that the word postbiotic was used in a clinical study. And so, really quickly, when you're looking as a manufacturer to produce ample amounts of these beneficial bacteria to then make a supplement, you have to grow them in numbers by feeding them food. They ferment that food and then replicate. Literally, 1 becomes 2, 2 become 4 every 30 minutes. So you're doing this in a controlled environment. Think like a giant stainless steel vat, kind of like the way you brew beer. So you're controlling the temperature, you're controlling the pH, the water content, all that. And then you feed them whatever food. We happen to use organic fruits and veggies, but you feed them a food. They then replicate, and at the end of that process, a couple days later, you stop it because you're controlling the process. You spin them out, you centrifuge them out, and so probiotics go to one side, and this other stuff, the stuff that you fed them and all the metabolites they produce, go to the other side. That is loaded with nutrients. That's loaded with the amino acids, the enzymes. That's loaded with the hydrogen peroxide that's ideal for killing bad bacteria and microorganisms. All that stuff, think of it as nutrient-dense soil, and that is called the postbiotic. So when you see a formula like ours, the Total Care line of products, we bring that along because it's valuable, not only to the probiotics that fermented it, but also internally, because our gut has never seen the inside of that giant stainless steel vat, right?
Yeah.
But now you still get some of the benefits.
And I love that. And that's what sets you guys apart, because it really is the whole story. It's like for years in the supplement business, we would just take one thing out of the whole story where you needed the whole story. It's not the beta-carotene, it's the whole carrot. And I do love that because it's really important, and especially when you say nutrients. But, Buddy, you definitely, I need more education on the comment about the hydrogen peroxide being in the post. Tell me more about that, because I don't understand that one.
So just once again, think of the metabolism. Think of the byproducts of probiotics on whatever food you're consuming. They take that and they create an environment that fosters their survivability. It's almost like, maybe not exactly the right analogy, but if we, all of us here in this room, were charged in building a little city, a small little city, well, then you might be in charge of the roads. I might be in charge of banking, and God help us.
I want to be in charge of banking.
Sorry, no, so you're in charge of banking and I'm in charge of the road. Cliff is in charge of, law enforcement. Now, we all work together to build this community, right?
Okay.
And we're doing things, putting laws, passing laws, building roads, building infrastructure to foster a livable community so that people can come and live in this community. It's kind of the same way when you have beneficial bacteria. They produce these microorganisms in part for them to survive better. And as a byproduct, we gain benefits. So hydrogen peroxide is one of those. Specific enzymes that break down carbohydrates is another. Amino acids, alpha-lipoic acid, short-chain fatty acids, these little fats like 4-6 carbon chains that actually feed the epithelial, the skin tissue that lines our gut. All of that is something they produce for their benefit, and because we're their host, we also gain benefit from it.
That's a great analogy. I love it. I love analogies. Aren't they fun?
So you want to be in banking now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I want to control the city. I want to be mayor.
Okay, good. There you go.
That's so awesome. All right, cool. So we got this great idea of, having a healthy diet, fermented foods, fiber, and what is your take on water? I feel like a repetitive machine every day telling people about water. What do you usually recommend for water?
Well, I love the fact that almost every time I've seen you doing this show, you usually have some sort of flask or bottle. Like right now, you have a huge green bottle of water there.
Yes, but I've been told maybe I'm a little obsessive about water because it's like between breath work and water. I feel like that's all I talk about all day. So
no, I'm in that same camp with you, Joanne, because it's weird. If I leave the house, in Charlotte or even down here working, if I leave the hotel and I don't have a bottle of water with me and digestive enzymes so that when I go eat eventually throughout the day, I feel naked.
Yes, me too. It's like my arm is missing.
Yes, something's wrong.
Okay.
Something's wrong. And then I got to go get a bottle of water, right?
Yeah.
So, no, water is absolutely integral for the body. We've heard this whole thing, 70% water, almost 80% water. The space in between the cells is water. The space within the cells is water. Your brain is floating in water. You need water. Now, I know some people, and I quite don't understand why they feel this way. They go, I don't like the taste of water.
Yes. I
Water
hear it
doesn't
all
have
the
a
time.
It doesn't have a taste.
I can't drink it. I just don't like it. I'm like, what is there to not like?
Put some lemon juice in there if you want to. Do something. But
I know. There's a billion different things you can add to water, right?
And by the time you're thirsty, by the way, by the time you feel that sensation of thirst, you're already dehydrated.
Exactly. Yep. I had I have a few customers and I love them. So if they're listening, I love you, but I do need to tell this story. So they get a lot of the treatments that I have at my wellness center. So they do the PEMF mat, the infrared sauna, the iron foot detox. Now, all these devices need your body to be like electrically charged. It needs hydration. It needs, a lot of water and minerals, right? So she said, Joanne, no problem. I drank my 2 bottles. I always thought she meant before she came in for her 9 a.m. appointments. She meant in total for the whole day, and these are little 8-ounce bottles.
Oh, no.
and she goes to the beach after she leaves me. She's a teacher, so it's summer vacation.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, are you kidding me? The whole day you have a total of 2 8-ounce bottles? I would be dying. You would have to like scrape me off the floor.
Right.
All right. So how do you go by like an ounce of water per body pound, but per weight, or?
I don't, because it would be too stressful for me to do that. I just, whenever I have water with me, I have right here by my feet, and I will just sip it. Throughout the day I'm sipping on water.
So no rules, just casual, and just keep yourself hydrated.
I may drink up to a gallon a day, and some days maybe only half a gallon, but I don't track it. I just know that I have water near me all the time.
Right.
In my office at home, in my home office, there's a cup full of water, big cup full of water. Often I've got to go downstairs, refill it, go back upstairs.
Right.
When I'm in the car, literally, I'm just going to take my kid to football practice. I got water in the car. Take it with me.
Yeah, I'll tell people to do like a shot, because if they feel like a bottle is intimidating, or the amount of ounces that I'm usually suggesting, I'll just say, well, just do a shot of water like every time you're going through the kitchen. Right. And then all of a sudden it adds up. But
right.
All right, so
and by the way,
water.
coffee, soda, juice do not count as water. Water is water.
But they really wanted to. Oh my gosh, they really wanted to. But I definitely agree with that, and I love coffee, but there's a place for it in a healthy regimen, but you need hydration to make up for it for sure. If I just do coffee, I will get a headache. All right, so we talked about the Probulin Daily Care Probiotic, the newest one. And how long has the immune one been out?
Over a year and a half now.
Okay, so that's a good amount of time.
It was in development 2019, sort of the late 2019, November,
Nice.
December, and yeah, it's the latest that we have so far.
All right, cool. And I love it has the pre and postbiotic with
Right.
it, and the elderberry. And so this one, they are gifting some of my listeners. 5 lucky listeners will get a free box of Total Care Immune Probiotic. So we obviously have the boxes here at the station, so you have to wait till at least 11:10, and the first 5 that come in definitely get that free box. That's a pretty nice gift. 40. Wait, I'm getting one of these then. Holy moly, $40 value, guys. So this is really, thank you, guys. That's really sweet of you. So $40 value. And honestly, I've always used elderberry. I kind of can tout that I don't get sick. I don't get the flu. And so I always believed it was the elderberry, because that tastes so delicious that me and the kids would do it every day because it tasted good and they didn't roll their eyes at me. So that's a super cool one. And I love the Total Care Women's one because the pre and the post, and UT. So let's take a couple minutes and talk about why, Dr. Jason, why the UT part of the formula.
So, and we had to be really careful with this, because as a responsible supplement company, we can't speak to mitigating any disease or illness, right? But UT standing for urinary tract, and women who suffer from UTIs, urinary tract infections, know exactly what that's it. It's very uncomfortable. It burns. It's if left untreated, can actually cause some permanent damage to the bladder, to the kidneys, and so it's something to attend to rather quickly if you suffer from that. And I hate to say this, Joanne, as in many cases, women bear the brunt of the burden with certain things. The anatomy of a woman's body causes you guys to have more frequency in UTIs than men. The urethra is shorter, so it's a shorter path for it to travel. More bacteria can get up in there. For us guys, not as much. Not to say that men who have prostate issues who don't void completely don't also get it, but primarily it's women.
Buddy, it's funny that you just mentioned that, because my father-in-law is a very well-known urologist here in town,
Right.
and he always says that. He's like, the female system, it's like it's broken. It's just not easy to fit. And I hate when he says it, but you just reiterated it. It is a very delicate system, and
Very much
trust
so.
me, when we have anything going on, we want it fixed, because that pressure, that pain, oh man,
Yeah.
it's like you can't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what the whole concept behind the Total Care Women's UT is to strengthen the urogenital system to ideally reduce the frequency of UTIs throughout the year. So if and I forget the numbers, but I think if at 1 in 5 women will get a UTI sometime throughout their lifetime, and of that 20%, more than half will have more than one a year, like 4 or 5 a year. And so what's the typical course? You go to your doc. The doc administers antibiotics. So now you got to deal with that for a few days, for 10 days or so. And that puts you in further harm of getting other issues, yeast and all that buildup. So ideally, this is to take it to strengthen the urinary tract system. So you're maybe instead of getting 4 or 5 a year, you only get once a year. It's not intended, I'm in the throes of a UTI, so I'll take it and in 10 days I'm cured. We can't do that because that would be a drug claim. It's more about kind of like you take like you said, elderberry, for your immune system as a preventative to strengthen the immune system. The women's total care UT is to do the same thing for the urinary tract.
Yeah, and that's definitely the guidance for most supplements. Don't wait until the crisis happens.
Right.
Definitely be preventative. So I love that one, but let's make sure we don't run out of time. And so if someone hadn't got a UTI in a while, would they just pick the general women's health one?
Exactly. Yeah, the whole idea, it's also urinary tract support, but also vaginal health support. Now, it says women, and it has sort of like this salmon-colored, label on it. We can't say to mitigate any sort of yeast or Candida albicans, but we know if you've got an overabundance of this not so beneficial yeast, you want to keep it, as you mentioned earlier very correctly, in its proper numbers, right, so that it doesn't overgrow and cause issues. But so it says women's, and yes, it's primarily geared for women because, once again, the anatomy of a woman's body. But even men can take this if they find themselves having toenail fungus or having to do with toenail fungus. Use your tea tree oil or whatever you're using directly on the toenail, but also then internally take the
it's definitely
bacteria.
internal. I have a lot of clients that, between the beer consumption or naturally, a lot of people don't understand that the antibiotics that are in the meat supply, like they don't realize that all the feed, so they'll make a claim no antibiotics given to the animal, but all their feed always is an antibiotic because of glyphosate.
Right.
So definitely an issue with Candida. And buddy, you know what I notice when my Candida's out of check? I crave sweets so badly. It's like I could have the biggest, healthiest meal, and then almost seconds later, it's like, give me a chocolate cake or give me a glass of wine. Like I feel like so imbalanced. So Candida, for anyone that doesn't know, it can really be what I call the sugar monster. It really can be out of control in the bloodstream.
Yeah,
so
true. So it's not a thing of willpower. It's literally physiology that's working against you.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, so again, it's there. We just have to nurture it in a way where it's dormant and under control.
Right, correct.
Okay,
correct.
Cool. All right, what else do we have there? So we have the daily care, colon. All right, tell everyone what the colon is, just in case any of our listeners don't know.
It's more bifidobacteria, and the colon is the large intestine as opposed to the small intestine. The small intestine is somewhere around 20 or so feet. The large intestine is smaller than that, but it's what you think of as when people talk about I'm constipated or I've got inflammatory issues. Typically, it's in the large intestine, the colon. And just like you think of different neighborhoods, people living in different neighborhoods, the neighborhood of the large intestine is primarily populated by bifidobacteria. And as we get older, it's harder and harder to repopulate it. So you need to make sure to get more bifido in fermented foods through your diet or ideally through supplementation. So that's what the colon support is all about.
Okay, and sometimes, again, the colon's overlooked. You know what I love? The squatty potty.
Oh, but once
Do
again,
you know
Brenda Watson had her own version of it years ago.
Yes, but that thing, do you remember that thing? That thing was humongous. I mean,
remember
you
that.
could kill a guest with that thing.
remember
It was
that.
like huge. But the squatty potties are wonderful. They're so small. They tuck in right under your toilet. Super easy to clean. But yeah, keeping that posture, which I'm trying to do right now. It's hard with the microphones, but really critical. So for the colon, if you are suffering, again, we can't make the medical claims, but if something's just not right down there, you feeling like every day you're dealing with one day diarrhea, the next day constipation, even acid reflux, you're having all these different digestive things happening and you're really not getting anywhere with maybe what you've been doing, it's a good idea to maybe switch the brand that you're taking of your probiotic, or maybe starting one. And buddy, how long would you feel someone would need to really start a supplement and continue on before they might see a shift in their situation?
It would depend on what issue, but typically if it's constipation, diarrhea, things that you just mentioned, gas and bloat, within a few days, 5, 7 days, 10 at the most, you should see that needle move toward the right direction. Now, after 10 days, don't then just stop, because likely what caused you that issue in the first place, you're still doing whatever that it was, right?
Exactly.
Having
yep.
2 glasses of wine instead of 1, having three pieces of
A
chocolate
bowl
instead
of
of
ice
1.
cream before bed. Yeah.
So ideally continue, but yeah, figure about 5, 7, maybe up to 10 days before you start to feel.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is just be patient. Some things that are popping its ugly head in your life might have been like 30 years back. Like when I get basal cells, the doctor always says to me, well, Joanne, this is from, you're 53 now, so this could be 50 years ago even. And I'm like, geez, like that's a long time. But same thing, these conditions that might be coming up now for you might not be from what you ate yesterday. So be patient with your body, be understanding with your body to try Probulin, even just the daily care to introduce some good bacteria might be a wise idea. Prevention is key. All right, buddy, any final thoughts in our last minute of the show?
I would just say, you're a wealth of information. Stop by Joanne's store, get all the information you need on this and other things. And also, Probulin itself has a great website. It's a commercial website. It shows the products. But it's also, there's an area that says blog. It's a tab. Just click blog. There are a number of different articles. Probiotics for skin care, probiotics in your food. What's the difference between bifido and lactobacilli? So if people want to learn more, just go to probulin.com.
Okay, well, that's simple enough. Probulin.com, Probulin.com. And I want to thank you guys for coming today, Ronnie and Buddy. It's always a pleasure to see you guys. And Buddy, I am so glad you are so strong in the biz still and just doing your thing.
Thank you, honey.
Gosh, isn't it nice when we find something we're passionate about and
Yes.
it can actually afford us a life, right?
Yes, yes.
So, and is the weather good where in Carolinas right now?
It's a lot cooler than it is here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't even think we're getting hit so badly, right? It's
Right.
not too bad at all.
Right.
I mean, I hear about other parts of the country. I'm like, oh no, I'm fine here. Oh my gosh. So everyone, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. I really appreciate it. Please try to focus on some water today and doing some breath work, staying positive, hopeful, faithful. And we'll be back next week. Dr. Ravi will be with me next week. And we are also going to talk about a spin on gut health. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie. The Talk of the Treasure Coast archives of this show are at WPSLTV.com.